China, the world's second-largest economy, seems like it might be having a bit of a situation right now. From ghost cities full of empty apartments to a generation of young people who are so disillusioned they've just decided to lie flat, the warning signs are impossible to ignore. We're talking about verifiable facts, the kind that even a government censor would struggle to spin. So, buckle up, buttercups, because we're about to take a deep dive into the 17 shocking facts about China's impending economic crisis. And it's happening right now. Let's start with a little property porn, shall we? China has spent the last few decades on a building spree of epic proportions, throwing up gleaming skyscrapers, sprawling residential complexes, and even entire cities that no one seems to want to live in. We're talking about an estimated 65 million empty apartments, folks. That's enough housing to accommodate the entire population of the United Kingdom, just sitting there, gathering dust. The concrete, the steel, the manpower, all poured into these eerily deserted landscapes. This, my friends, is what you call a real estate bubble of truly gargantuan proportions. The question is, what's going to happen when this bubble finally bursts? Speaking of things that are deeply worrying, let's talk about China's youth unemployment rate, which, as of this year, has officially skyrocketed to a record-breaking 21%. That's right, over 1 in 5 young people in China are currently out of work. It got so bad, in fact, that the Chinese government just stopped releasing the data altogether. Because nothing says everything is fine, quite like refusing to talk about the problem. For decades, China grappled with the consequences of its one-child policy, a program so effective it makes Thanos' snap look like an amateur production. But now, they're facing a whole new demographic dilemma, a shrinking population. A shrinking workforce means fewer people to support a rapidly aging population. It's a recipe for what economists like to call a demographic time bomb. You'd think that after scrapping the one-child policy, China would be experiencing a baby boom of epic proportions, right? Wrong. Despite desperate attempts to incentivize procreation, tax breaks, housing subsidies, you name it, China's birth rate remains stubbornly low. Add to that soaring living costs, a hyper-competitive job market, and a general sense of disillusionment among young people, and you've got a recipe for a baby bust. It seems that even the promise of a government-sponsored dating app can't convince China's youth to start breeding. Remember those ghost cities we talked about? Well, they're not just an eyesore, they're a symptom of a much larger problem. China's over-reliance on real estate. A staggering 1/3 of the country's GDP is tied to property, which means that if that bubble bursts, and let's be honest, it's not a matter of if but when, the fallout will be felt far beyond China's borders. Imagine the global economy as a Jenga tower, and China's real estate market is that one wobbly block at the bottom. It's a disaster waiting to happen. Remember Evergrande? No? Well, allow me to refresh your memory. This little-known real estate giant sent shockwaves through the global economy when it defaulted on its debts back in 2021. And when I say debts, I'm talking about a mind-boggling $300 billion. That's roughly the GDP of South Africa, folks. Just gone. And here's the kicker. Evergrande isn't even the only Chinese company swimming in a sea of red ink. It's just the tip of a very large, very unstable iceberg. While Evergrande might be the poster child for China's debt crisis, local governments aren't far behind. Local officials went on a borrowing spree of their own, racking up massive debts to fund infrastructure projects. We're talking bridges to nowhere, empty airports and entire cities built on speculation. Local governments are struggling to repay their debts, and some are resorting to desperate measures like selling land to themselves. Remember the joys of living at home with your parents? The constant nagging, the lack of privacy, the lingering scent of your dad's questionable cooking? Well, imagine experiencing all of that well into your 30s. For millions of young Chinese adults, this is their reality. Saddled with student loan debt, low wages, and sky-high housing costs, they're forced to move back in with mom and dad. There's nothing quite like a good old-fashioned bank run to inspire confidence in a country's financial system. In recent years, rural China has been hit by a wave of bank runs, as desperate citizens, fearing the collapse of their local banks, rush to withdraw their savings. Several small banks have already gone belly up, leaving depositors high and dry. It's a stark reminder that when trust in the system erodes, it can unravel faster than a cheap sweater in a windstorm. Remember when China was hailed as the next Silicon Valley, a hotbed of innovation and technological advancement? Well, those days seem like a distant memory. Major tech companies like Alibaba and Tencent are slashing jobs, foreign investment is drying up, and the once thriving tech sector is starting to resemble a ghost town. Speaking of censorship, let's talk about the hidden cost of living in a country where the government dictates what you can say, read, and even think. Companies operating in China are forced to navigate a complex and ever-changing web of censorship rules. For foreign investors, this lack of transparency and predictability is a major red flag. Remember when everyone wanted a piece of the China pie? Well, the party's over, folks. Faced with rising costs, political uncertainty, and a whole lot of red tape, global companies are starting to shift their supply chains away from China. And when even the giants of the corporate world start heading for the exits, it's a sure sign that the party's over. Here's a fun fact. China's economy might be growing, but for many workers, their wages sure aren't. While the cost of living continues to climb faster than a panda up a bamboo shoot, salaries have remained stubbornly stagnant. It's a classic case of the rich getting richer while the poor, well, you get the picture. Remember the days when we were told that hard work, dedication, and a healthy dose of hustle were the keys to success? Well, China's youth are saying thanks, but no thanks to that whole idea. Faced with a soul-crushing combination of pressure to succeed, long work hours, and a shrinking middle class, many young people are opting out of the rat race altogether. This lying flat movement is a rejection of the relentless pursuit of material wealth and a quiet rebellion against a system that seems rigged against them. Even as its economy shows signs of slowing down, China continues to throw money at its military like a drunken sailor on shore leave. Military spending has been on a steady upward trajectory for years, and it shows no signs of slowing down. This military buildup is raising alarm bells across the globe. China loves to lend money, especially to developing countries eager to build up their infrastructure. But what happens when those countries can't repay their debts? Well, it turns out that China's foreign lending binge is coming back to bite it. It's a lose-lose situation and one that could have serious consequences for the global economy. For years, we've been told that China's economy is a well-oiled machine, churning out growth at an unprecedented rate. But what if those impressive GDP figures are nothing more than smoke and mirrors? So there you have it, 17 shocking facts about China's economic woes. These are cold, hard facts, backed up by credible sources and verifiable data. The cracks are already showing, and it's only a matter of time before the whole thing comes crashing down. The big question is, what happens next? Can China pull itself back from the brink and avert disaster? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below.